Hello again. Now, I had an email the other day from someone asking me to do a video talking about amplifiers. They pointed out I've done loads of tutorials talking about guitar hardware and pickups and effects pedals and so on, but I haven't really talked about that very crucial part of the guitar signal chain, namely the amplifier. So I thought I'd talk about that in this video. And the amplifier basically is the thing that takes the guitar signal and gives it some volume. And there's two parts to an amplifier. There's the actual amplifier itself, which takes the signal and, if you like, electrically amplifies it, makes it louder. And then there's the speaker cabinets that take that sound and actually project it and make it into something that people can actually hear. You'll come across two types of amplifier. You'll come across a stack where you have a separate amplifier on the top and then speaker cabinets on the bottom, or you'll come across what's called a combo, where you've got the amplifier and the speaker cabinet all built into the one unit. In terms of features and sounds, there's no significant difference. It's just portability, and you get a bit more flexibility. You can pair amplifier with different speaker cabinets and so on. But in terms of features, in terms of how you affect the sound, they're pretty much the same. To complicate things a little bit more, amplifiers come in two basic types: what's called solid state or transistor amplifiers, or valve, what's called tube amplifiers. Valve amps, tube amps, they're more traditional in that they use little vacuum tubes, valves, as part of the signal chain. The transistor amps are generally more compact and they use transistors rather than valves. Now you might think it's a bit weird in this day and age still using valves, because I think of it as quite an antiquated technology, but a lot of people would argue that the sound that you get from a tube amp is better, it's more natural, it's warmer, what have you, compared to a solid state amp. Then again, you'll get transistor amp fans will say, to be honest, with good modern circuitry you can't tell the difference. It's one of those things people will always debate over, in the way that they debate over what's the best kind of wood to make a guitar body out of, or what kind of fingerboard wood you should use, what have you. It's just another aspect of guitar equipment that people have opinions on. What I'm going to use for this video is the amp that I tend to use around the house most often. This is a small combo amplifier. It's a valve amplifier. It's a Blackstar HT5R. It's a really nice amp. I've been using it for quite a while now. I really like the sound of it. But the controls on it, there's nothing particularly outlandish, so what you see in this demo, you should be able to relate that to amps that you use yourself or you might see in your local music store. Okay, let's get started and talk about the amplifier and controls it's got and how it can affect the sound. Okay, so this is the top panel of the amplifier with the controls on it. Over the left hand side we've got the controls for the clean channel. The controls for the dirty channel are in the middle, and there's a reverb control over the right hand side which is common to both channels. Let's start on the clean channel. This is quite simple. In common with a lot of twin channel or multi-channel amps, the clean channel's the simplest in terms of controls, and in this case we've got a volume control and a tone control, which do pretty much what you'd expect. Tone control just allows you to vary the tone from a bit more bassy to a bit more trebly, and the level control allows you to set the volume, how loud the channel is. This is useful having an independent volume control for each channel, because it allows you to balance them up, or if you want to make one channel louder than the other. It just depends on how you use the amp. Okay, let's have a listen to some sounds out of the clean channel. Okay, so the sounds that you heard there are what we'll call a dry sound. There's no reverb. This amp, like a lot of amplifiers, has a reverb control which allows you to dial in like a slight echo sort of sound. Best way to explain that really is just to let you hear the sound dry, and then we'll turn the reverb up and you can hear the difference. Now that example there is quite pronounced, but let's listen to something with some chords played without reverb and then with reverb, and you should be able to hear a difference in the sound, but it's not maybe as over the top as the difference there when I've just played just one note stabbing on its own. Personally, I find it quite hard to play without reverb, so for the rest of this demo I'll be leaving the reverb knob where it is, just adding a little bit of depth to the sound. Now let's move over to the dirty channel, which sounds like this. Let's take a look at the controls on the dirty channel. We've got gain and level. So the level does basically what the level control for the clean channel does, and that bit allows you to set the volume of the channel, how loud it is. But the gain control allows you to dial in the amount of distortion that you want, how overdriven the sound is. This channel's got a bit more control in terms of tone, in that rather than just having single tone control, we've got independent bass, middle and treble controls, so we can fine-tune the sound a bit more. This particular amplifier's got a feature on it called ISF, or infinite shape feature. This is kind of peculiar to the Black Star range. Basically it's another type of tone control. It's a way of changing the voice of the amplifier, and affects in particular the way the mid-ranges sound. In principle it's just a tone control. Now that gain control is quite useful because we can get a lot of different sounds out of the dirty channel. What you heard before was just the sound that I tend to use on the dirty channel. But what we can do is really turn the gain right the ways back and get something a little bit crunchier. Or we could turn the gain right the ways up full and get something much heavier. This is a 2-channel amp, so we've got the clean channel and the dirty channel. What you might come across sometimes is 3-channel amps, where you've got the clean channel and then you've got a crunch channel, which is a slightly overdriven channel, and then the more heavily distorted, like full lead channel, which kind of equates to the dirty channel on this amp. Different manufacturers do different kinds of things with the product, so there's no hard and fast rule as to what features you'll find on an amp. I'm just kind of giving you this as a general guide. One last thing I'd like to talk about is the way the amplifier is configured internally. Now you might think of the amplifier as being like this. Guitar goes into the amplifier, goes to the speakers, and you hear the sound. In practice there's actually 2 parts of the amplifier. Looks like this. Guitar goes into the preamp, and the preamplifier is the thing that actually gives you the sound. So that's where you're changing the tone, or you're changing the EQ, or you're setting the drive to give you the distortion sound. That signal then goes from the preamp to the power amp, and it's the power amp that gives you the volume, and then that goes out to the speakers. The reason it's important to know that there's the preamp and the power amp sections within there is when you come to use effects, because some effects don't sound so good when they get distorted. So a lot of amplifiers will have what's called an effects loop, which looks like this. The guitar goes into the preamp, and the preamp gives the sound its voice, adds any distortion or overdrive or whatever. Then the signal passes out of the amplifier, and you can run that through your effect pedals, and then back into the amplifier, into the power amp stage to get loud, and then out to the speakers. Now, as a general rule, pedals like filters, things like wah-wah pedals, compressors, boosts, overdrive and so on, that can go between the guitar and the preamp stage. Effects with modulation on them, things like chorus, phaser, flanger, they don't sound so good going into the preamp stage and having the sound distorted. Things like that you probably put into the effects loop. So you have the guitar into your things like compressors and boost pedals and drive pedals, into the preamp. Out on the effects loop you'd have the chorus, phaser, flanger, delay, that sort of thing. Then back into the amp on the power amp stage and out to the speakers. So there you go, there's a quick run through of the amplifier that I've got here, and hopefully that's given you an idea of what the amplifier is capable of and what the different controls are. Like I say, controls and features will vary from amplifier to amplifier. Sounds and that will vary from model to model, manufacturer to manufacturer, and so on. But the basic concepts that we've covered here will apply to most of the amps that you'll find in your local music store. So I hope you found that useful, and whoever it was that asked me the question by email, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name. Hope that kind of answers your question and is giving you the sort of information you're looking for. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye for now.